All right, so we'll get this party started. Now, I actually thought the music was playing, but I guess it ain't. So, Lo siento, everybody. Excuse me. Okay, so today I'm going to test out a few different things. Going to talk a little bit. Um, I still want to test out my interviewing system, but something a little different is I put the link to be able to join the live. I pinned it as the pinned comment on the Facebook comments. So if you would like to join the live at some point, well, as a matter of fact, actually, when I kind of open it up, any point when you would like to join the live, you click that link, and it will take you to a waiting room, and I will be able to see you, but no one else can. So I'll look at you and decide to let you join the live. Excuse me. So, but the one thing I do say, I think if you click that link, then make sure that you may have to copy the link and open it in a browser, Chrome, or whatever you may use. Sometimes the link directly itself is a little unique and special. Um, yeah, trying to put a positive spin on it, but you know how Streamlabs does. It's always embarrassing me. Hold on one second. All right, so tonight I want to talk about a few things, and then, like I said, I'm going to try to practice this. Well, not practice the interview, but I want to see how the transition from the chat to the live would go. So I have a friend that's been through the services with me. As a matter of fact, the person we watched on the video, since she probably has had the most services from me, um, I'm going to also interview her. I tried to do a little bit of explaining what was going on in the video, but I think sometimes it's a little better to hear from the horse's mouth itself. So I'm going to ask her a few questions, and this is how it's going to go. So this week has been very interesting. So as I probably, I believe I mentioned it at the last show that I actually got a new position, new consultant position. So for the most part, everything's pretty much official. I got my equipment, and I'm totally excited. You know what I mean? But this transition has produced a lot of different emotions and feelings, and I'm going through the process of reviewing, all trying to assess what these feelings are producing, what these thoughts are producing, and all these things. But the first thing that kind of came to mind was this idea of duality of thought. Oh yeah, before we move on, I do try to change. I do a better job at keeping up on changing this, so it does definitely say courage does not always roar. Yo, you definitely can, man. Lando, you definitely can add Swami to that. As a matter of fact, I was trying to think about what to call myself, and I was thinking spiritual advisor, but I actually like Swami a little better, so I might call myself the Black Swami. Oh, thanks for that. So yeah, but the thing that's been coming to my mind is this idea of duality of thought. And although two things can be true at the same time, those two truths can create a certain level of conflict within a person or individual. And for myself, that's actually what I was kind of dealing with as I try to it's very crazy as I try to analyze this new or assess this new juncture in my life. So the first kind of example I have of duality of thought was is a story where both of them are kind of stories from my childhood. Well, one is just specifically a story from my childhood, and the next one is kind of like something that went on from childhood to adulthood. Hey, Scrappy. I haven't called you that in a minute. So one of my friends and one of the viewers, they look like Scrappy from Rosewood, and I ever since I met her, I've always called her Scrappy. So she does definitely look like Scrappy from Rosewood. And as you see, I got my bow ties cracking again today. I see she laughing in the comments. Yeah, I promise you, I'm going to figure out how to get these Facebook comments to show on the screen. Really, 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 it'd be driving me crazy. But one of my examples of the duality of thought is an experience I had as a kid. So when I was a kid, I was one of those. I was a strange mix. I was definitely a Pisces kid, so I'd fight all day, but then I also wanted to dance and sing and all this. So it was just a weird. I was just a strange mix of a child. But I remember one time, I as dead serious. I was one of those kids. We had a couple of my homeboys back then. Dance was a big thing, so we set up our little dance group, and we was in talent shows, just doing our little dance routines. So when it came time for my school to want to do some sort of talent, of course we signed up for it. You know what I mean? We out here breakdancing in the neighborhood like champions. So yeah, I was old dancing fool. But I gotta definitely draw the boundary. I was not that guy that you saw percolating in the middle of the club. I was not no percolate. So no, I was not no percolate dude. But so they had this event. I lived in Brooklyn for a while, and they had this event at Brooklyn College where they kind of just invited a lot of the elementary schools and middle schools to come do some sort of performing arts, right? And it's wild because my school participated in that. And I swear I love to hear my mom tell this story because she tells it and it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful experience. You know what I mean? Seeing all these black children, there's definitely majority black and Hispanic children. And we just dancing and singing and it's a bunch of us. So it was a beautiful experience and I love to hear her. Hey, you know what it is? Hey, not just Brooklyn, bro. It's Brownsville. So, you know what I mean? Definitely Bucktown. No doubt. So we doing this little dance routine at Brooklyn College, and I love that experience to see all these black children and Spanish children just showing all their talents. And I promise you, every school, every child was putting their best into this performance, right? And my mom tell that story. I sit down and listen to it like I wasn't even a part of it because she tells the story beautiful. As much as I'm a storyteller, I definitely got it from my mama because she tells amazing stories. The simplest stories can be amazing. You know what I mean? She might get a little long-winded sometime, but hey, I do too. But she tells amazing stories. But the wild thing from that is two sides. It's a duality of thought. So for her, she only has it from the parental side and the spectator side, right? But me as a child who was in this performance, I have a perspective from the spectator side where I was able to see all these other children perform amazing things. And then I also got to see it from the performance side. Now, for me, the duality of thought is spectator and performer. So when I think back on this experience of dancing at Brooklyn College, because that's what we were doing, I promise you, as a spectator, like you see, you can hear the passion in my voice. It was definitely a beautiful experience, and I would do it again if the opportunity arose. Like you know what I mean. There was nothing I would change. Scratch. There was nothing I would do differently if I was placed in that position again. Now, the thing about it was the the dance that we did. Man, I'll never forget. I had this African teacher, Miss Amoli Angola, and I was raised in a household where we had Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and Marcus Garvey on the wall, right? So that's why I looked on the wall every day. I was the kind of kid that, no lie, in this time, I don't even know how I found these buttons, but I had buttons of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and Marcus Garvey, and I was selling them in school. So this is that fight the power age and proud to be black and all this stuff, right? So Mr. Molingola got us out here performing this routine, and I swear it starts off, we on our knees, acting like we picking cotton like slaves, right? I mean, we down there, and it's like, oh, and it's like 30 kids just on the floor picking cottons like slaves, right? And then all of a sudden, the beat drop. Boom, 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 boom. A fish don't fry in the kitchen. So we go from pretending to be slaves to a fish don't fry in the kitchen. You know what I mean? We in that deluxe apartment in the sky. And for me as a kid, man, that was probably one of the more traumatizing experiences I experienced, because never in my life did I ever want to be a slave, pretend to be a slave, act like slavery was cool. You know, I don't even watch slave movies. The last one I seen probably was Kunta Kinte, and that's because Miss Molingola made us watch it in music class. I don't even watch slave movies. Like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, I got a friend that want me to watch a show. Now I forget it's that I can't, man, Bartholomew or something like that. And just because he looked like a slave, right? Just because he looked like a slave, I won't watch the show. So for me, no lie, I used to sit here and pray that some parent was going to look at this, see us pretending to be slaves, and save us. Be like, yo, we didn't fight for my kid to pretend to be a slave or anything like that. And it was wild because with for my entire life, I kind of just there go the last days of Bartholomew Gray. Yeah, they want me to watch that show, but it looks like slavery show, so I won't give it no love at all. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, but yeah, so we dancing to the Jefferson theme song and all that. So, but most of my life, I just kind of lived with this conflict and this duality of thought of something that I feel was so beautiful, but was also so traumatizing. You know what I mean? Which is wild. And for a long time, I just didn't even know how to deal with that. And my mom probably heard my side of the story probably like last year, 2 years ago. So she didn't even know that I felt about it the way I did personally, like internally for myself. And then the other thing that has had me with a lot of duality of thought has been travel. So in my life, by the time I was 12, by the time I moved to North Carolina, I had probably already lived in New York, Montana. I had already lived in Fayetteville one time. So New York, Montana, North Carolina, Arkansas, California. We stayed in Orlando for a little bit. So Florida, cut through Texas for a little bit. I just lived a lot of different places and I traveled a lot. You know what I mean? And when you have that experience, you wind up having this duality of thought because you have been exposed to more, you know what I mean? And you probably are a little more adaptable to the to changes in situations, and you may develop a skill that allows you to make friends and stuff like that in almost any situation. But the other side of that coin is you kind of look at relationships as though they're expendable. Because for me, for like the majority of my life when I was growing up, I was just like, I'm only gonna be in this town for maybe like 2, 3 years tops. and I don't know where I'm going to be next. So investing deeply in relationships and expecting them to stay was not necessarily an expectation of mine. You know what I mean? But that goes on to create an interesting foundation of thought. You know what I mean? And I'm at this point in my life where I'm processing how to come to terms with this duality of thought. And don't mind my notes. I had, well, I don't care if you know I got notes, but all there's certain things I definitely want to talk about. So, and as I move on from the duality of thought, I had to start thinking about the duality in my life. And that duality in my life is the balance of energy between masculine and feminine. And when I look back on my youth, like, high school and college and prior to that, excuse me, I know that was so rude. Oh my God, you saw me drink some water, so I ain't mean to burp like that. But prior to that, you know what I mean? It seemed like I had a good balance of masculine and feminine. I had a bunch of male friends that I kick it with, and then I had a bunch of female friends that I could talk to and kick it with as well. And there was plenty of times where we'd all blend together, and that was so natural that I never really had to pay attention to the balance in my life. So you go forward, you graduate from college, and now you're in a different world. You know what I mean? So school is actually a concentrate of society, but it's like the orange juice before you get the water. So it's easy to make friends, enemies, lovers, relationships, all that thing because it's just concentrate. But once you put the world in the water, it's a little diluted, and some of the elements go their own separate way, right? So now, as I look at my life right now, I can really say there is no balance. So my first thing was to look at the masculine energy in my life. So when I look at the masculine energy in my life, I don't really interact with a lot of males on a regular. You know what I mean? Like if I say, and when I say a regular, I mean like once a week. So if it's at this point, man, I remember it was probably 10 of us as guy friends, and we were kicking it every day. And now as an adult, I even limit it down to once a week. And when I look at the masculine energy that I have in my life, I really only it's only about 2 to 3 dudes that I deal with normally. So then I have to wonder what happened to what happened to all the guys that I normally what happened to all the masculine energy that used to be in my life. So I had to review what happened to it. And it's funny because like when we graduated from school, people became family men, people became career oriented, people went off and went to the military. We had all different types of things. So people made choices to explore their own lives and go after their own goals. And as a friend, you love and respect that for them, but you don't always realize, well, you do realize that you're losing some of the connection, right? And then I had to then like thinking about how I lost them. So I just lost them through the process of life because that's even me because I said before I was 12, I lived all these places. But listen, I probably stayed still. Charlotte is probably the longest I've stayed still. And I graduated from high school. But once I went to college, I've been moving like people will see me now. I'm like, you been back home? Because I since then I've moved a bunch of places and I've visited a lot of different places. So I'm one of the people who've also lost that connection some. You know what I mean? So then I look at the feminine energy because it's important at this phase of my life on this healing path to make sure that I have balance, whether it's balance through boundaries, and I said now I'm reviewing relationships, so now I'm looking at balance in relationships and my interactions with people, which are still relationships. And I looked at the feminine energy, and the feminine energy is way more. And I'm using just what I mean, random numbers to paint a picture. But as like I said, with masculine, the dudes that I deal with once a week, it's probably about five. But when I think about the feminine, it's probably at least 10 women that want to talk to me every single week. And some of them would talk to me every single day if I would do it. And this is not even including the women that I have known since, because my best friend, one of my best fucking friend forever, is a woman, but she doesn't have the expectation that I talk to her every day or every week. We talk when we can, but this isn't even including my long term friends. This is just the people I know as of right now that have access to me, which is weird. And then I had to think about how did it get like that, and that's where my career came into line, because my career is children and families. I work with prenatal pregnant moms before you get the baby till that baby is born and 5 years old. And in early education, the field is dominated by women. So, and when you become an adult, one of the more difficult things to do is make friends, because you don't got that concentrate anymore. And a lot of times, especially for a man, the easiest way for me to make friends is through work, because we can talk and find out if we have some similarities. Then I can be like, all right, man, maybe we go kick it this weekend, you know what I mean, and watch a game or have a beer or whatever we want to do. But let's say I'm out and I'm at the bar watching the game and having a beer, and it's a dude there, and we just tripping on the game. We have good conversation. We just laughing like dude, just having a guy moment. At the end of that moment, I can't be like, hey man, can I get your number so maybe we can hang out again next weekend and watch the game? Because that comes off very different in this day and age than what it would have come off if I was 11 years old. That 44, that hits different, and people start looking at you a little different. So it's a little difficult to develop these bonding friendships outside of career. And my career puts me in contact with more women than anything. You know what I mean? And so because of that, I have a huge imbalance in my life between masculine and feminine. And I really have to think about what am I going to do to address that. And I was and it's wild because I actually do have thoughts and ideas about people who don't have those balances. Like when I think about me dating a woman, one of the red flags that one of the red flags that a woman could say to me is that she doesn't get along with women. Because like if you can't get along with your own, you not gonna get along with the opposite. And as wild as it is, they think they have better relationships with dude, and in some aspects they do. But if you ask that dude who would he rather be friends with, nothing sexual, nothing intimate, nothing. Who would he rather be friends with? It's going to be a man. You know what I mean? More than likely because we have something in common. So when it comes to addressing that imbalance, I don't know. When it comes to the feminine, I don't know what I'm going to do. Because essentially in my prior my prior times, I just pull out that blade, start cutting people off. You know what I mean? And these people aren't necessarily doing anything to deserve to be cut off. So pulling out the blade and cutting them off wouldn't be fair. It doesn't even really make sense to me. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with the feminine energy. And as it comes to the masculine energy, I guess I just have to put myself out there a little bit more. You know what I mean? As I suggest to other people when they're trying to do, he'll put yourself out there a little bit more. And conveniently enough for me, I actually do have the potential to build more masculine friendships and masculine energy in my life through the men's group that I'm in. And I didn't count that because most of them dudes, I probably have only met three of those men in real life, and one of them I grew up with, and the other two we went camping with. I went camping with. So, I think I'm gonna have to take advantage of the opportunities that come to me to increase male interaction, masculine energy in my life, and with feminine, I don't know what I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? So And that's the point where I'd ask somebody, if you have any suggestions, tell me, what can I do to help bring masculine and feminine balance in my life when the feminine energy is so high. It's like, let's say, 3 times as much as the masculine, which is crazy. And then the last thing I want to talk about, which kind of lead all of this leads into, because the balances of energy and the duality of thought are all based on previous behaviors that I'm trying to address and improve from. So one of the things in our men's meeting, we wound up having a discussion, and I was telling them about what I just told y'all about the space where these good things are happening to me, and I don't even know what to do. It's kind of like I'm emotionally stuck, which is wild. And one of the things that came out that conversation is rewiring the system, right? And we had to discuss what that was like. As a matter of fact, we had to figure out what the system was that was needing to rewire. And for me, the one thing that really definitely needed to be rewired is my survival behaviors, right? And it's funny because I was raised off love. I got plenty of hugs and kisses and all that stuff. So I was raised off love, but I was taught to survive. You hear me? And as much as they ask those questions about people who, what's better, are people raised off love or raised off survival, they don't really ask the question about people like me, the people who got hugs but was raised to survive, right? And I realized in this conversation, and I'm sure someone else, this will resonate with someone else. Um, okay, 1 second. Is how much of my success was based on survival behaviors. And now that I don't necessarily need those, that's what has me emotionally stuck, because these have been the emotions and the feelings and the stuff that I've used to be successful. And now that I've achieved some semblance of success, or what I feel like is success, um, I have to let go. I have to let go of these old behaviors so I can make way for thriving behaviors. So now that I was taught how to survive, I'm going to have to find out how to thrive, because I want to be a person raised off love, living in love, and taught to thrive, and living off thriving. One of the suggestions I got for creating balance with feminine and masculine energy is, may have to create new boundaries with the feminine energy in your life, meaning fall back a bit, since you don't want them to feel like you cut them off. Okay, so that that creates an interesting dynamic, and it's funny, because your advice kind of rolls into my my survival behaviors. And one of the wild things about falling back is falling back always has such a negative connotation. So if I decide to take time, fall back, and create a little space for myself so I can have balance in my life, people aren't going to see it like that, right? Man, you'd be amazed on how often that people feel like I have to explain to them why I took time to myself, right? And it's funny because when the shoe is on the other foot, they don't feel the need to explain, nor do I feel the need for them to have to explain. So I don't even put that pressure on people for the most part, unless there's a sense of concern there, then I'd ask them questions. So, which is funny. So how you see how I'm presenting this concern, right? And that concern is still evidence of my survival techniques. And this is how. So, like I said, so much of my success was based on survival behaviors and not necessarily thriving behaviors. I had to think about it. So, what's going on with me now as these good things are happening? I'm stuck in this place of worry, right? So, I'm sitting here worried and I got all types of anxiety that something is going to happen and I don't know what and all these things. And the wild thing about it is the worry is unwarranted at this point. I don't even like if I can tell you what one thing I'm worried about. I would have to tell you I don't know because I ain't worried about anything right now. And the wild thing about that is I had to really start thinking about what worry is to me. And what worry has been to my success is motivation. So worried for butt whoopings. So I got good grades. Worried about what my family would think. So I went to college. Worried about making sure I could pay this light bill and all that stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Worrying about being successful in my career, whatever that may be. That worry was a motivating factor for me. You know what I mean? As much as I have resilience, as much as I have motivation, a lot of root of that my motivation was based in survival techniques, and that survival technique was definitely worry. And the wild thing about it, which goes into the suggestion of falling back a little bit, is right. So Scrappy, uh, it's wild because I never would have saw how much of a worrier I am until my reasons to worry were removed. And the wild thing about it was I'm so entrenched in these survival behaviors and attached to worrying as being my success. I literally started looking for things to worry about and manufacturing things to worry about. And there is nothing there to worry about, right? So what winds up happening with all that worry and when I'm overwhelmed, it puts me in this other survival technique, the survival behavior of self-isolation. And it was funny because I didn't even think about it till one of the men in the men's group was talking about that that's one of his behaviors, right? And it resonated with me so much because I've been going through a trial and tribulation myself right now. And one of the main things, it was funny because one of my friends came over here. They was like, "Hey, you need to get out more." And I thought to them, like, what are they talking about? I get out. That's crazy, right? But I had to think about it. So when I'm going through something or I'm worrying too much and it's motivating me and I need to focus on my own thing, I do have this tendency to self-isolate, right? So, and I guess it's bad enough where Fred was like, yo, you need to get out more. And for myself and my success, I always thought of this self-isolation as a space to rejuvenate, a space to plan, a space to do all these things, right? Heal and all these things. But I never really thought about the other side of the coin until the men's group. And one of the men brought up the other side of the coin on how that self isolation can be bad. And I realized that it can be bad and it's mostly bad because I'm on this healing process and I tell everybody how much of the healing process is a group process. It's a group event. You need other people to help you. You need other, and one of the conversations I've been having with my mama lately is you need to inject new energy into your life to get new outcomes. You just got to do it. You know what I mean? So I had to think about what's the other side of the coin of this self isolation that I do because it's not just to plan and motivate. It's not just all those things. And in the conversation with the men in the men's group, it really brought up my issues of abandonment, right? And I never really thought how all these things are tying together. I'm like, so how is my worry? my motivator that also causes self-isolation. And one of the main reasons I self-isolate is my fear of abandonment. And it's funny because I never would have realized it because I felt like those were one of the things I worked on, right? But one thing that came up in that men's group is one thing that resonated with me that the guy was saying was that he's one of those people that don't like to ask for help. You know what I mean? And I'm the same thing. You know what I mean? I've trained myself, I get it myself, I do it myself, and I do get help. And I'm like most people, a lot of times when I ask for help or support, it's at the point where everything's falling to pieces, right? And then I had to think about why is it so difficult for me to ask for help? You know what I mean? And it's funny because I tell people they can ask me all the time, and people do. People hope. Listen, I I lost my job and was and trying to monitor my balance, my money, and make sure all that straight. And you'd be amazed how many people still didn't hesitate to ask me for money. Right. So the thing about it is where it strikes into my fear of abandonment is people will let you down in the sense that when you need I'm known to come through when people need me. I say this, I say I'm like Jesus. I might not be there when you call, but I'm always right on time. And that's a fact. So I always show up for people, but I guess the people sometimes that I choose to or I assume or expect to show up for me don't always show up for me. And I think one of the foundations that started creating a different type of fear of abandonment was through dating relationships. And I think the first time that it kind of really came to me was the experience when I was in college and I was homeless and I had a girlfriend. And it's funny because I see memes like this all the time where it'd be like, you know what I mean, you lose your job and then you subdue your girl holding you. Then by the end of that last picture, you by yourself. And although I definitely don't fault her because we both were kids and all types of things, but that was one of the things that started this foundation of not relying on people, right? So, and when I was homeless, I had a girlfriend and we broke up. You know what I mean? And that broke my heart. And like I said, years later we discussed it, and I appreciate. She said something to me that I never even thought about. She said I couldn't imagine what it was like for you to be a kid homeless and still trying to graduate, which I ain't even think about myself like that because when I went to college, them survival techniques, I'm like, boy, you better sink or swim. I came out there, hey, jumped fully off the porch trying to survive any way I could. So I worked jobless. I was working at Lane Bryant. I sold weed. Trying to one thing I couldn't do was go home. I asked my mama to pay no bills or nothing like that. You know what I mean? Um, so because of that, those moments of where I felt like people didn't come through or they left me, it winds up it's that our self isolation is to avoid that feeling, that fear of abandonment. So although as much as that self isolation is for me to recoup, it's also the other side of the coin is it's from a fear of abandonment. People not being there for me when I need them to be. And that's a crazy thought. And then the other side of even that abandonment, what I never even considered that came up in the men's group as well, is one aspect of the self isolation and the fear of abandonment that it definitely is a defense mechanism. And the wild thing is, without this conversation, I would have always considered it a coping mechanism. You know what I mean? And it's not, and the wild thing is like the duality of thought. Two things can be true at the same time. So it definitely can be a defense mechanism and a coping mechanism. And it's all about perspective. And it's funny, because in the men's group too, we talked about that and I shared that homeless story. And I was telling one of the men's a lot of times the survival behaviors, we pay attention to the things that happen to us that reinforce these thoughts, right? So, as much as I talk about the time when I was homeless and I had a girlfriend and we broke up, the other part of that I don't really talk about because it doesn't always validate my thoughts and feelings, my survival based behaviors, is I had hella people supporting me during that time. I had homeboys, my masculine friends came through for me. They made sure I always had food in my mouth, a roof over my head, a place to wash my clothes, all that stuff. So for me to align with that abandonment part or the part where I was let down is because it validates my survival behaviors, which all goes into how I became successful. And it's wild because it may have been off negative energy. So the other part of that abandonment that I didn't think about that came up in the men's group is one of the reasons I also, well, not abandonment, but the self isolation part. One of the reasons I also self isolation is because, you know, I don't really want to disappoint anyone. So if I've hit a roadblock or a bump in the road, and I'm a person who has seen moderate success, whatever that may mean, I do feel like I've been successful in my career overall, moderate success. So if I'm having some struggles in my career, I feel like I'm disappointing people who invested in that success because I had people help me along the way to help to be able to maintain. And then the other aspect, because I'm so filled up with worry that it's a little I have a little less control of my emotions, and I'm more likely to be a little more spastastic. That's one of my favorite words. I'm a little more spastastic, where it don't take much for me to be like, yo, I don't want to hear that shit. You know what I mean? So I'm not really doing the process of reviewing my words and all that stuff. And I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and I don't want to disappoint anyone. So that fear of disappointing people also is attached to my survival techniques that have helped me. Like, you know what I mean? One of the reasons I got good grades because I ain't want to disappoint anybody. One of the reasons I got scholarships because I ain't want to disappoint anybody. I went to college because I ain't want to disappoint anybody. And this is a reason why I know I have to rewire the system, because the life I'm living isn't about anyone else but me. It's my choices, my decisions, and the part of rewiring the system is going to give me a certain amount of freedom to be able to thrive, like I said. And in this process, it's going to allow me to do what I want, right? Um, in a second, Liberty. I'm going to interview Liberty for a little bit. I told you we want to test out that thing. So, can you check the link in the chat to see if it'll let you in that way? If not, go the other way. Um, Knock that out real quick. So I want to see if it works perfectly. And then when you get on, tell me how much you like my bow tie. Thank you. Rewiring the system is going to allow me to do what I want. And normally that comes from a selfish place for a lot of people when people say they want to do what they want. And for me, it is partially selfish. But one of the reasons why I'm okay with that is I'm an empathetic person. Hey, guess that joined. It worked. So I'm an empathetic person, and even though I'm going to do what I want, I'm going to consider how my decisions, because every decision that you make affects someone else. Don't you ever think that your decisions only affect you. So I'm going to consider how my decisions affect someone else. I'm still going to be thoughtful. I'm still going to be considerate, but I'm going to do what I want to do, not what I feel like I'm supposed to do, not what I feel like I need to be doing because it's the right thing to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. And right now, I'm in a place of doing what I want to do, and I have to make space for the new energy. So I have to identify the old behavior that got me this far, where it won't help me as I move forward, and that survival behaviors aren't going to help me as I move forward. And I know this because when I went into this career transition and didn't have my job, one thing my homeboy had to keep telling me, like, all right, don't slide back into that survival stuff. And that was probably my most difficult challenge during this time. Because one thing I know, if I want to work, I can get me a job. Listen, hey, I can get you a job. I can get me a job, so I can give you a job. If I want to work, it's that easy. But for me, it's hard not to go back into that hustler mentality. You know, I'm about to hustle to get out here, make sure I survive. And since I've been going through that, I've been having to trust in the foundation that I already set up, trust in the work that I've already done, and hope that it allows me to continue and achieve and get through this trial and tribulation. And it has. So things are good for me now, and I just got to work on that. So for to wrap up some of that, you know what I mean? I want you all to start thinking about um the balance of energy in your life. Do you have too much of one and not enough of the other? How did it get like that? Think about that with yourself, and what could you do to adjust that to bring that balance back? And then also with the duality of thought. And for me, I think the duality of thought is going to be one of them things where it's more of acceptance and stop trying to apply good, bad, and all that to it, because the truth of the matter is two things can be true at the same time. And if I hold on to both of them, I get a fuller picture instead of just looking at one side of the coin. And we all got to take a little time to rewire the system. So, okay, so I got the guest in here. I'm about to change it up. Let me see what's going on. Okay, here we go. All right. Let me see. Go to this guessing. Boop, 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 boop. Hey, can you hear me?
I sure can. Can you hear me?
Listen, I'm so happy because
Right. No
the
echo.
man, listen. And even when I got the sound kind of good, it was the person could hear me, but I couldn't hear them. It was just bananas. So I could hear you, you can hear me. I feel like I'm winning that life right now. We rewiring the system for real. So, what did you think about tonight's talk? I'm gonna ask you some. You know what? I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions. I ain't even realize I was gonna be that long winded. I've been jaw jacking the whole time. You know, I like to wrap it up about an hour. I be trying to do an hour.
You be trying.
I do listen. I do good with an hour when I'm not doing any energy readings.
You
Because
do. You
energy
do. You
readings
make it last, like he said.
energy readings play. Hey, listen, I'm trying to give people everything they need, and it takes an hour and a half, 2 hours. Sometimes, a couple of them rolled on about 3 hours in our, in our
The
growing
reading.
pains.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
a couple of them sound like I was redoing the reading through a tin can, so it's all good. You know what? Surprised she not even on here because she normally come in here talking that DJ mess, so she must have been
Right.
busy tonight. I had to be like, Marlena, where you at? You had to go in there. I was like, hey, somebody tag Marlena Matthews. Tell her where she at. I'm just kidding.
She's
She'll
slipping.
probably have a heart attack if she knows. I'm like, you got somebody tagging me. But for funny, she's normally Indian. She's normally reliable. Okay, here we go.
She probably doing one of my numbers, wrapping Christmas gifts.
Word, that's real
Yeah,
cute. You know, I thought about Christmas gifts and
that's
stuff,
real
but
cute.
I think I might just give people the beauty of me this year. Be like, you get a hug, you get a
Okay,
hug. I'll sing some Christmas. Oh, the weather outside is frightful,
no,
and the
no, you keep that.
fire
Keep
is
it.
so delightful.
Keep
And
it.
since there's no place to go,
You gotta cut up them.
let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Yeah, take that on the road. Hey, listen, I know I'm wilding out, but
Yeah,
it's because I know it works now. So this is the first time that I
you
put it in.
happy?
Yeah, I'm acting ignorant. Sound is good. We done been through a lot with these shows. I told you, remember I used to have all types of stuff dancing across the screen and all that crazy stuff. And now it's
Yeah.
just me and you. You know what I mean? I got stuff laid on top of laid. It wasn't laid like that before. Sound good. So yeah, I feel good.
You could.
Alright,
You
man, no
could.
lie. So you know what? I actually, since you did get to hear the chat, I'd like to know some of your thoughts on because balance of energy in your life or in life, like what are your thoughts on masculine and feminine energy balance in your life? You think that's
um,
important? Is it something that you think people? I ain't mean to
but I'm
put you on the spot.
lacking. You know
Oh,
what?
personally, you okay?
The
I ain't putting your business out
no.
there, so anything when you introduce it, that's when it's out there. But you know, I don't put your
No,
business out
we family.
there. You know
Remember,
what I mean? I
we
act like
family.
I'll be on here like I don't know. I don't know nothing about you.
You don't know nothing about me.
I don't know nothing. I've never seen you before in my life. Like, who are you, woman? I have no idea who you are. Child, as if I didn't just play a video of you last week getting ready, and I'm gonna be on here this week like, who is that?
Anyway, since we're not talking personally, I think it is important, especially when you describe the fact that you have more feminine energy than you do masculine energy as a man. I think it's important.
No doubt.
And I'm lacking both because the self isolation thing you were talking about, that's the phase I'm in right now.
All right. So what
And
is
have
it?
been for a while.
So how is the self isolation phase the good thing for you? So what does self isolation do for you that improves you? You know, like I told you, it gives me time to focus. It allows me to,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Time for introspection, look at my life and, what changes do I want to make and taking action to make those changes.
Right.
But it's hard to sometimes to make those changes when you don't have that support.
And you know what? That's one aspect of the conversation that I really didn't talk about. Support. Because for me, I'm still working on it. And it's not even that I don't have the support, it's the survival technique. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I'm used to trying to do it myself and the abandonment issue. So I ain't even think about the support. As a matter of fact, and it's funny because it came up in the men's group as far as support too. And one of the men was like, yo, I really feel like y'all my support. Like anything happen, yeah, I know y'all got my back, and it's wildly true. Surprisingly too, we planning. Hey, if y'all want to go camping, we going camping in the winter.
Let's go with it.
I don't know what we're gonna do. We were supposed to do it before it got cold, but you know, life happens. So now it's
Yeah, it
cold.
does.
We're gonna burn that fire up. I'm gonna take my tents and something to keep me warm and my guns, and
I
we're
know,
gonna
I
have
was
us
getting
a
ready to
good
say
time. Girl,
that.
hey, dude, don't put the range out there, so I'm bringing the big guns out this
I don't
time.
blame
They don't even know. I say the last time
you.
I went camping, I just had that little that little 380 that you know about. Two machetes. Just in case I run out of bullets, I gotta chop you. And then
Wait
I
a
had
minute, the same
you.
380 from the highway.
Oh yeah. That thing still gonna clap. Just to believe I cleans it, I polish it. Yeah, that thing still gonna pop. If I need to. Trust me. I told you when we left the camp, and one of the dudes was like, "Yo, next time we go camp, we gotta make sure we bring guns out here." And my homeboy, Ali was like, "Shit." Peanut was here. We had a gun. I'm like, well, we had an arsenal. The guy had a gun, machetes, and a bow gun. I showed up with the Darrow just in case. I'm like, just in case.
Honey, something big. Gotta
We're
get
gonna
it.
we're gonna survive we're gonna survive the zombie apocalypse. We already got shelter out here. All we need is weapon. We got food. We can kill our own food. We're gonna survive.
Hey, y'all ready?
For real. All right, well, you know what? Then another question. This is even better because it's wild because I sent you these interview questions where I want to interview you,
Now you
and
gonna put
I
me on the spot.
keep them because they probably gonna come in handy at some point. You know what I mean? But we already at the hour, so I just want to kind of talk to you about what we've been talking about.
That's
So
fine.
I think that balance of masculine and feminine energy is necessary to function on all cylinders spiritually
Yes,
because
yes.
everything is a balance in life. And as much as I said it's a red flag to me when a woman says she doesn't have female friends or I just get along better with men, that's not a flex to me. You know what I mean? That screams
I
I
get along
have
with
a
those
lack
chicks.
of balance in my life. You know what I mean? Because I never say I just don't get along with guys. You don't hear dudes say that. Guys, we might say there are some men that we don't get along with, but
Yeah.
overall, we get along with men. So when we hear that, it's like the math ain't mathing. Now, yeah, exactly. So we just learn. We hear it so much, we learn not to think about it because when we ask those questions, even the answers are like, okay, that doesn't make sense. You're like, I get it. Like girls can be so catty sometimes. Okay.
How you know?
Right? The problem with that is, like, shoot, you think men ain't? You know what I mean?
Hey,
Most of the women I know
let
have
me get
dated a man,
up
right? And one thing that they say that is very much common, I'll never forget. Miss Rhonda was the first woman I heard say this when I was working at Little Hedgesmith Academy as an after school teacher, right? She was like, ooh, my boyfriend be like a girlfriend. What? What does that mean? Your boyfriend is like a girlfriend. So
Hey, because y'all have mood swings just like us.
okay, see, when I said that, you didn't need me to explain it because you
No.
knew exactly what that meant. So that's why when women be like, ah, girls can be so catty sometimes. Dudes like oh yeah, word. Yeah, I know. But the math ain't mathing for us because dudes can too. Like
Right,
that's not
right.
a gender specific behavior. That is a person specific. So yeah, just get you some different female friends who ain't that catty because they all not catty.
Seriously.
Trust me, I got too many female friends. They all not catty. They all definitely
Mm.
not catty. You
Some
know
of
what I
us are
mean?
lovers and the rest are fighters. I'm a lover. Got some shit on.
Hey, I was saying like this. Every woman thinks she a lover.
Nah.
All right. Until you cross that right boundary. Listen, I dated a girl and I'm so glad I bought her a gun. Um, yeah, well, you don't know. But I like to, if I date a girl, I like to make sure that she can protect herself.
Yeah.
So,
Big on protect.
yeah, so we learn how to shoot guns. She learns how to do the rear naked choke and body triangle. She learns how to do arm bars. She learned how to do lot of stuff, a lot of interesting stuff that she didn't even know. You know what I mean? Like play the Xbox. So, oh God. But that girl had never been in a fight in her life.
Wow.
But you
Never.
could not one. But you could not tell her when the beef was on, she would talk big
Honey,
sugar honey
how
iced tea. Like she could throw them heads.
you
All it takes is probably like one person to pull her hair. She'd be like, oh my God, the Lord have mercy. But I taught her how to get out that hair pull too. Smash them knuckles and back up. Get up out of there. Like, don't let nobody pull your hair. What?
right.
Oh God. Uh, so, do you have an example of duality of thought in your life? Like, when I talked about the Brooklyn College thing, where it was such a beautiful experience, but also traumatic because I pretended to be a slave that became George Jefferson.
I can't think of anything offhand right now.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you this one,
Uh-huh.
and it's positive, and it's one because I know you are one. But it's one that I've came across a lot in my career that isn't really talked about, and that's the duality of thought of motherhood. And I ask
Oh.
this because one thing that in my ex, I lived with my ex for a little bit, and one comment that it was funny because I lived by myself for a long time. So washing dishes, cleaning clothes, all that stuff is I do it. You know what I mean? And if I have a woman with me, I don't expect her to do it all because we both here. Now, if she ain't
Mhm.
working, I may expect you to do a little bit more or do it when because you have a little bit more freedom. So it's gonna allow you to do it on a Tuesday while I'm only doing it on Saturdays, right?
Right,
But
right.
I feel like it should be 50-50. Or you know what I mean? Not 50-50 because I don't like to always break it down to numbers, but when it comes to household responsibility, I feel like it's a shared responsibility. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
And it was funny because some people think their cleaning is the best. And they don't leave like, okay, I seen this comment about weaponized incompetence.
Yes.
And they were talking about men.
No. Pause. Why I was gonna message you saying if you ever get married or become a father, do not use weaponized incontinence. I think I'm saying it right.
Yeah.
But in that relationship, because it's hard on a woman,
Let
not
me
just raising, well, taking care of the kid. Don't leave that all on her. That's not right.
so let me this is a perfect example of weaponized incompetence. One thing
Incompetence.
that I
Okay.
think people do is give weaponized incompetence too much value. Because what I've seen happen more than weaponized incompetence is you're not doing it right, right? So this is an
Mhm.
example. So my ex lived with me, and literally, I have been living and cleaning my place by myself for since I was 18. You know what I mean?
A
And
long time.
this woman moves in here and she doesn't like the way I clean. So instead of allowing me to clean it, because it is clean, and accepting that I clean differently, she would be like, well, don't worry, I'll just clean it out. I'll just clean it out. Right. And I think
Mhm.
sometimes women or people will consider that weaponized incompetence because they judge the way I do it as incompetent, but they're comparing it to how they do it, right?
Right.
So if a woman asks me to fold sheets, I'm gonna fold them sheets, but I'm gonna fuck, excuse my language, but I'm gonna fuck up them fitted sheets every goddamn time. You hear me? And I don't care. My mama been trying to teach me how to fold a fitted sheet since I was 4 years old,
Oh
right?
God.
I'm 44. The math ain't mathing, right? Right?
So
But I'm
40
gonna
years of
fold,
training and still
right?
can't
I'm
get
gonna
right.
fold them sheets and I'm gonna fold that fitted sheet the best I can, right? And I'm gonna pack them away. But if you are a person that can fold a fitted sheet perfectly, you are going to be irritated by how I fold that fitted sheet. And you are more likely to be like, just don't fold them no more. I'll do it. So now you're taking on more of the responsibility because not
Yes.
because I'm incompetent, not because I can't do it, because you don't like the way I do it. So,
Mm,
and when it came to my ex, that was the problem. I've had people come to my house when it was junky and when it was clean. You know what I mean? And even when it's junky, people don't come to my house and be like, whoa, I can't even sit down in this motherfucker. Like, you ain't, you know what I mean? He be like, all right, nigga, you
right.
need to wash your clothes or something. But it ain't so dirty. And with my ex, she felt like she was the world's best cleaner in the world. And I understood that dynamic because my daddy was the same. And he was OCD. So you're never going to be able to clean to the level of an OCD person, right?
Never.
And
Never.
it's easy for them to be like, well, you are you pretending to be incompetent? Because no one, it's not like you just can't understand that, right? So this is funny. So now that my ex, and she wasn't working at this point, decided that cleaning was going to be all her responsibility. Occasionally I'd still be like, you sure? Right. Because I could do my own thing. And I'll never forget, which made me ask the question about the duality of thought of motherhood. She was cleaning the kitchen one time, and she was like, "I'm tired of cleaning up after everybody. I've been cleaning up for after people for 14 years, right?"
And that's what you wanted to
So one, you've been wanting to clean up after everybody for 14 years because you don't make nobody responsible for their own cleaning because can't nobody do that. But the thing that really was interesting is the 14 years, right? And it ain't like she 15 years old. You know what I mean?
do. Right.
You know what I mean? So what is so specific about 14? That was the age of her eldest daughter. So what she really was saying was, I've been cleaning up after kids and
Mm-hmm.
people for 14 years. I'm tired. And that shit ain't had nothing to do with me. Because I ain't
Not at
been with you for
all.
14 years.
No.
It ain't no weaponized incompetence. I keep asking you, can I help you clean? It ain't none of those things. But that led me to think there is a duality in thought and motherhood. And the one space that women don't have a safe place to discuss is the other side of the coin.
Oh, honey, because you're gonna be looked at funny if you say anything real about motherhood.
If women are honest about the other side of that coin, you are going to be attacked
Villainized.
by other women. And the wild
Mm-hmm.
thing is, it's not going to be because they don't understand or they don't agree. Many of them will have the experience. The problem is they're going to be doing it because they think that's what they're supposed to do. Time back into the rewiring of the system. You're not supposed to say that out loud. You're not supposed to say these kids is draining the life out of me. I love them to death. You know what I mean? The best, you know what I mean? You're not supposed to say that. Like,
Right.
y'all just always here. You ain't got nothing to do. You don't got nowhere to go. I wake up, you here. I go to sleep, you here.
You here?
Right? I wake up in the middle of the night to pee, you already in the bathroom. Like what? And you didn't I put you to sleep already? Like, what is you doing? You want to go outside?
Right.
Can I go too? You want to work out? I want to lift weights too. What the hell? Like, I'm going to eat grass. I
Listen,
ain't even know grass was delicious, but can I get a bite? See, I just
that's
said
what
that
I'm
just to
going
fuck
through
with
with my
you.
4-year-old. Honey, every move I make, she is right there. That's my shadow. She's
So,
not home right now. That's the only reason you don't see her on my shoulder,
she
looking
not
over like,
home.
"Mama, who that?"
Okay. So, all right. So, what is one safe thing that you can say about the duality of thought of motherhood? You know what I mean?
It can be draining, but also rewarding. Their love is like none other that you will ever experience. So I know it's cliche, but a lot of moms say, being a mother is hard, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
They,
that is a fair um, duality of thought of motherhood in the sense that it is rewarding but also draining. And that it's
yeah,
also safe because people can, whether you got children or not,
can
you
relate.
can relate to that. You know what I mean? So you can actually think about times that have been stressful and rewarding at the same time. You know what I mean? People say that about
Hmm.
the military. People say that about college. People say that about anything, Job Corps. People say that about backpacking through Europe. You know what I mean? People say that about a lot of things. What you said, Scrappy, you got so on there. Oh, so true. Thank you. So Scrappy agrees with your duality of thought of motherhood, with it being rewarding and draining at the same time. And you
Yeah,
ain't getting no plaque for it. And it ain't no manual, ain't no handbook, ain't no nothing.
at all.
Um,
Lord.
all right, last question I want to ask you. We're gonna wrap it up because we did go past a little hour, even though it's still kind of early. Is rewire the system. So what are your thoughts about that? Like I was speaking on how my success is so attached to survival skills. What is something that you think um, you may have to rewire in your system as you move into a new phase of your life?
Repeat
Something
that.
that
Say that again in English.
what is something in your system you may have to rewire as you move into a new phase of your life? You know what I mean?
Um,
It's something that you can think about that has benefited you up to now, but you are starting to see that it will not benefit you going forward.
my trying to do everything myself and not asking for help, like reaching out to my friends or whatever, let them know like I need a powwow. You know what I mean?
So
If
allowing yourself to
I'm,
be vulnerable enough to ask
woo!
for help. All right. So now I'm going to ask you this so you can think about it and we can talk about it. But now, cause you know I said that was one of my issues. I don't like to ask for help. But now you're going to have to take a little time to think about what is the core of that. So that's how I went from worry to self isolation to abandonment to fear of disappointment. You know what I mean? Because there is a reason why you feel so strongly about not asking for help. And it's not just personality, you was born that way. Because you're not. Babies always
Right.
ask for help. They so good at it. All they got to do is cry. Right? And people be turning, you know what I mean? They ready to turn the world upside down because the baby cry. What you need? You need a diaper change? You hungry? I don't know. You want to go outside? You want the dog to pet? They be trying to figure out. All the baby got to do is make that face. It ain't even got to get it out. Just pump fake like like boy, calm down, calm down, calm down. I done seen them stuck in there for about 10 minutes. I'm like, nah, you playing now. Put this baby down.
I think
So,
mine stems from not receiving attention. You came from a household full of love, and mine was, I wouldn't say it lacked it. Well, it didn't have any love, but it lacked, if that
in,
makes sense.
in the ways that you need it. So, also,
Yeah.
let me put a caveat on my house of love, because it definitely was raised in love. You know what I mean? Where I, like I said, I got butterfly kisses, hugs, and all that shit. But you also know I'm that latchkey generation.
Mm-hmm.
So with that generation, there's a lot of us raising ourselves because there were no adults around. And
Right.
for the majority of my life, from when I got out of school to 11 or 12 o'clock at night, I was raising myself, doing whatever I wanted to do. You hear me? Whatever. And it wasn't a lot that I would do because I was chicken shit then. I mean, I wasn't scared. I was weird. You know what I mean? I was more afraid about disappointing my mom, right?
Right. Right.
And having a bunch of people in the house and all that would have disappointed her. I ain't really care about making her mad because I had been making her mad all my life. You know what I mean? All she gonna do ultimately is spank
And
me and
time
put me on
out.
punishment. I don't give a damn about that. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm gonna get off and be back in these streets again. You know, ain't no thing. You know what I mean? These whoopings I'm gonna heal. It's gonna be all good. So I ain't care about her getting mad like that. Though. And as a parent, that might be something you want to think about going forward. And I see a lot of parents do this. They think anger is the thing that kids are afraid of. Kids don't give a shit about you getting
No, they don't.
mad.
Honey, it's
One,
gonna get
they don't give a damn. So, as a matter of fact, I found pleasure out of making my mama mad sometimes. So yeah, so kids don't care about you getting mad. They do care about disappointing you. You know what I mean? Which is very different. You know what I mean? Because when you disappointed the kid, you don't even respond mad. You just be disappointed. And that hit different. You know, oh
yes,
man.
right in the core.
Yeah, I disappointed him. Like, I got to get my life together. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just get straight A's next semester and everything. I'm run for SGA president, all that stuff. But yeah, yeah. So I get it. Part of yours is from your upbringing because it wasn't necessarily a house without love. You know what I mean? But there are aspects of love that you include in the family that you are making that you wanted in your household. Yeah, is that okay? Yeah, my allergies is acting
Yeah.
up. I ain't even finna lie. Because we finna get off right now, too. My allergies, well, never mind. I forget I'm still live. So I don't need to say that. But my allergies is acting up. It's allergy season for me. So there's a lot of clearing my throat and all that. But
It's
it's
allergy
okay.
season.
Man, listen. I'm going to take one of those allergies. Hey, I'm sorry. You clocking on now? You done missed the show because we just talking crazy at this point. But I'm going to take one of those allergy tests where they stick all the
Okay.
needles in me, cause it ain't no way. I don't. It's something that I'm allergic to, and I have no idea. And I say that because I got a brother, right? And my whole life, we knew he was allergic to beans and something else, right? And my brother had allergy issues his whole goddamn life. I mean, he was the dude always in his ear and rubbing his nose where it sounded like he breaking his bone. I used to feel so bad. He used to go from his ear to his nose. Sometimes it'd be the same time. And I was like, bro, yo, you okay? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I used to give him hell because he the oldest. I'm like, yeah, man, them oldest, they always get the weak genes. What's that? You the sickly one. They practice with you. They get all them old hucked up genes out on y'all. So, hey, better
Damn.
watch out.
And you
I used
probably
to
got the beat down after you said it.
Man, listen, at this point, he knew I could fight too. So, you know what I mean? He had to think about it a couple of times. It took a long time to get there. I took a lot of L's, but it took him a long time. Like, do I really want to fight this nigga? But yeah. Oh my God. Oh God, I forgot what we was talking about. So I guess that's me
Your
trying to get up.
allergies.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take that test so I can find out. And I was telling my brother then, okay. So when he about, I don't know, in his 40s, he actually take the allergy test. That goddamn boy, excuse me, that boy allergic to everything in life. We been feeding him everything. So no, he's not allergic to beans. He is allergic to legumes.
Okay.
Everything that's
Yeah,
in a
that's
damn
different.
pot. That's peanuts. That's meat. This boy grew up eating 50%
Everything.
of the stuff that he was allergic to. So I know I got seasonal allergies, but I can't be
Mhm.
having them for all the seasons. And I be going live too much. You hit your nose on live too much, they gonna swear you on powder. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And then I
Yeah.
be showing videos of me shooting powder up. People know, oh yeah, I know that's crack. Look, he always rubbing him nose and stuff. And look, he feeding other people crack too. So no
You might be
allergies.
allergic to them salt and vinegar peanuts you've been eating.
I ain't even really been messing them up like that, but I doubt. Oh, well, let me tell you something. I can't say I'm not allergic to peanuts. I know I ain't allergic to salt and vinegar because I be straight every time I eat that. I ever used me a them little cherry tomatoes, and I get some feta, some blue cheese, or a little mozzarella, and some balsamic vinegar. You drizzle with that. That'd be
Mhm.
a
Little
excellent
snacky
snack.
snack.
Like, yeah, I'm set.
Yes.
Listen, you know okay. Last thing before we wrap
A
it up.
foodie.
Yes, but you know I'm a fat boy trapped in a skinny boy's body, and I love all the snacks. I was in a group, and they asked, "What childhood snacks do you still love today?" And you know what my response was?
What?
All of them. You pick it, I still love it. And I got new snacks that I love. Okay. I still love strawberry shortcake and mangoes. But I also
You really
love
are sad.
blueberries and jackfruit. Okay, I ain't know
You eat jackfruit?
You say, do I eat it?
Yeah.
No, I ain't had it yet. I'm lying.
You just talking.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yep. But
Log
you done
off.
called me out. All right. Well, thanks for joining. Allowing me to test out the system. Thanks for watching. Again, everybody take some time to think about a duality of thought in your life. Balance of masculine and feminine energy in your life, and ways you need to rewire the system of your life. And I'll see you Thursday
Yep.
as we continue Thursday night book club with. We almost done with Their Eyes Were Watching God, and I swear that's been that book. I loved it, but man, this book is wild. And yo, listen, it definitely has me sometimes sounding like I'm on phonics, like I don't even know how to read. But I don't like that. These ain't normal spell words. These slave spell words. I just told you I
Oh,
don't like nothing slavery.
wait a minute. You said
I
slave
said
spell word.
watch. I don't watch nothing slavery. I don't read that either. Because let me say, let that have been one slave. A slave could have walked by and they be like, we probably seen the last slave in Florida. Florida, because that's what they would have said, because ain't nothing
Right,
spelled right.
Lord.
Like, we seen the last slave of Florida. And I'm like, oh, this is a dumb book. Close it up that quick. So join us for Thursday night book club, or we see you next week. I actually might bring her back so I can actually interview her, since we just started jaw jacking and talking about everything. Because I do really want her to talk about her experience and Reiki and all that. But maybe it's needed because I want her to have at least one more session. So maybe she can get that in before this week is over. Something with me in the numbers. Something with me in numbers, and she ain't at the right number yet. So but thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. Scrappy, Keish, Liberty, Lando, Marlene, we
Liberty.
miss you this week.
Liberty.
Liberty, Lando. Right.